Hello, everyone. Today we begin a new story in the life of Abram. In the previous story, he went down to Egypt where the promise of seed was placed in jeopardy. But the Lord faithfully intervened to preserve the covenant family. This episode starts with Vaya'al Avram Mimitzrayim, and maybe one of the things that stands out to us right away is that it doesn't start with Vayahi and it doesn't start with a noun clause. So what is it that makes this a paragraph? A couple things that we can observe is that we have a change of location. Mimitzrayim, he's leaving one place, he's going to another. Also, the subject, Avram, is explicitly stated. And in here we have a chain of 3 vayiktols, and Abram is the subject of each of those. And that brings coherence to this unit as a paragraph. All right, looking more closely at the Hebrew, we have vaya'al. What is that? Okay, so there's nothing at the end. There's vav patek dagesh at the beginning, so preterite. Yod is the prefix, so we have a 3ms preterite of some sort. And we see a patak under the prefix. Usually we see a patak under the prefix and we think hifil, and we look more closely at this word and we say, but the first radical is a guttural, and so the kal could also give us a patak under the prefix. So how will we tell which one it is? How will we tell if it's kal or if it's hifil when the form would be identical? Well, then we need to count direct objects because the hifil always has one more direct object than the kal does. Before we look for a direct object, what is the root? Yeah, the root is Allah. If we had, say, the kal imperfect, we would have had ya'aleh because we would still see the phony hey at the end. When we have the jussive or the preterite, it moves the accent up, and we lose the mater hey. The form would be ya'aleh in the kal because originally the third root letter was yod, and that's represented by the E-class vowel. Okay, so we have vaya'al from Allah. Allah means to go up. Either Abram went up or he caused or influenced somebody else to go up. And when we look through the rest of the verse, we have hu, v'ish tov, v'kol asher lo, v'lot imo, Hanegba, and we don't see et marking any direct object, and there's no other candidate for a direct object. So this would have to be the kal. Abram went up from Egypt, he and his wife, and everything which belonged to him is what the Hebrew has. So all his possessions. And then it says, and Lot imo, and Lot with him. So what we have in the second line, these nouns are all listed as part of the subject of the verb. The verb only has to agree with the first listed subject, so it doesn't have to be plural. But it says, and Lot with him. And then we have toward the Negev. So we have the directional hey on the end of Negev, and that's working directly back with the verb. He went up toward the Negev. Then in verse 2, we have a noun first clause. We have Avram kaved ma'od, ba'mikneh ba'kesef uvazahav. All right, so if we go up to the atnak, the Avram kaved ma'od, our verb there is kaved. It's a pretty standard word, especially if you've used my grammar. So this is a classic kal perfect 3ms stative. So we're in a background clause in narrative. How will we translate a stative in such a clause? Yeah, well, it'll just be simple past time because the stative is being the same time as whatever is controlling the discourse, and the discourse is controlled as past time by the preterites, and so kaved is simply matching that because it's a stative perfect. So we can say Abraham was very kaved, he was very honored, but he was very honored with respect to cattle and silver and gold. And so a better translation in English would be that he was rich. He was very rich in cattle, silver, and gold. Then we have Vayelek Lemasa'aiv. So Vayelek, hopefully we recognize halak in there. Halak thinks it's a first yod verb. That's why the prefix gets the tsere. And then you know the verb nasa, at least I hope you know the verb nasa. You know two of them, of course. You know one with an aleph on the end, that's to pick up, to lift something, to carry it. And the one that has nasa with an ayin on the end is the one to like pull up stakes at your campsite, or to pack up your camp and head out on a journey. And so this is a noun related to that. So you see the Dagesh Forte and the Samach there, and that's the noon of the root Nasa. You see the mem on the front being a noun maker. So he set out for his journeys. So they're going to be journeying in stages. This is a pretty long trip, and so there's going to be a lot of go-aways, set up camp, break camp, go-aways, set up camp again and again. So he set out for his journeys from the Negev, Va'ad Beit El, so unto Bethel. And then he gives further description to that place. Ad makom asher haya sham ohalo batachila. So ad hamakom, unto the place where his tent was there at the beginning, which in better English would be to the place where his tent was at first. And in English, we don't need to repeat the sham, whereas Hebrew likes that kind of redundancy. And then he gives further specificity. Bain Beit El uvein ha'ai. So in between Bethel and Ai. So when you're looking at Ai, you might be saying to yourself, why do we say Ai when the Hebrew is ha'ai? So it has the article on it. The city Ai always has the article in the Hebrew Bible. It always occurs as ha'ai. The noun Ai itself just means a pile of stones. Sometimes that then is referring to a ruin, but not always. So this city is simply known as, so like Beit El is house of God, and Ha'ai is the pile of stones, but it gets used as a place name. All right, so then we have El Makom HaMizbeach. So you see in 13c we had Hamakom, and here we have Makom. What's the difference between those? Okay, so there's the Shavah under the Mem. Why is there a Shavah under the Mem here? Because it's in construct. This is a word that has a long vowel as part of its identity, because that vav is actually R2, and so that vowel is not going to reduce even when it's in a pretonic situation, but still we're seeing shavah back here in the pre-pretonic spot, or what we call problem position, indicating that this is in construct. So it's to the place of the altar, asher asa sham barishonah. So the place of the altar, which altar? The one which he had made there in the beginning. Here we're using the noun rosh. Rosh can refer to head, but it can be also the beginning of something. So we could say that a few different ways in English, to the place where he had first made the altar. Vayikra Sham Avram B'Shem Adonai. And so we've seen this phrase a few times. He called there Abram on the name of the Lord, or better English, there Abram proclaimed the name of the Lord, and he gets back to the business of worshiping. Then the next part is going to start with Vagam Lalot HaHolek et Avram. So it shifts focus away from Avram to a little bit, but it's still going to be giving us setting information. So that's what this paragraph does. Like many opening paragraphs to a story, it gives us setting information. It states his wealth, Abram's wealth, his location at Bethel. It's a place that he's familiar with, and that he is worshiping the Lord there. All right, in the next paragraph, we're going to get a little more of the setting information in order to set up the problem for this story. Take care and stay tuned.